Shalom, brothers and sisters. I wanted to make this video about Paul is an unreliable witness. I'm talking about the Apostle Paul of the Christian Bible. If you're Christian, if you're Catholic, you're taught that Apostle Paul is one of the apostles of Jesus Christ. I'm telling you that Paul can't even get his own conversion story right. That's the theme of this video. But before I go into the evidence for that, I'll put it briefly up on the screen here just so you can see chapter and verse in case you don't want to hear all my rambling. But I wanted to talk about my visit here to Dallas because I went with my parents. They came out here to visit me to the grassy knoll in downtown Dallas. That's where John F. Kennedy was assassinated. That's a tragic day, and I think America took a hard turn after that and never recovered from that. Just before JFK was assassinated, he had said that he had discovered some conspiracy that was about to enslave all of America. And weird that a couple days after that he gets assassinated. So, my father told me, oh, Trump's gonna reveal everything that happened with the JFK assassination. I don't know if Trump's going to do that or not, but I kind of already know that the deep state won that day when JFK was assassinated. But the reason I bring up this story, why is that relevant to Paul's conversion story? Because in the same way that 9/11 is one of those events that when you were there on 9/11, you remember exactly where you were. I was on my way to school in the back of my mom's minivan. My little sister was in the car too. I was going to middle school in the morning, and then I went to a Christian middle school, so I remember everyone in the school got out of the classrooms and we went around the flagpole and we held hands and we prayed for America together. And I remember vividly that day, 9/11, when that happened in 2001. And in the same way that I remember that in 2001, when we went out to the grassy knoll, my father was telling stories about how he remembered that. And, back in that day, children, I guess, could leave school of their own volition. My dad said he was in second grade, and during the lunch hour, some kid went home to eat lunch at home instead of eating home at the school, and then ran back to the school like, hey, they assassinated JFK. And my dad thought it was a prank. So imagine, being in second grade when the JFK assassination happens. There's no cell phones or technology to notify you the very second something happens. You have to hear it some way or other through the grapevine. So someone had it on TV at their home. So when the child went home, that child apparently was the first one among that class or that school that had become aware of the JFK assassination. My dad remembered vividly that moment when his classmate notified him that they shot JFK. And so similarly to how I remember the 9/11 event when that happened, it's kind of strange thinking that the biggest, most important moment in Paul's life, when Paul met, allegedly, when Paul met the Messiah of the whole world, when Paul met Jesus, he can't remember or get any of the details straight. My dad can remember the JFK assassination. I can remember where I was when 9/11 happened. But Paul, apparently the most important event in his life, he can't remember any details of it or how he felt. I think that's a red flag, but let's take a look at this because this is in Excel format. So I wanted to share this. Before I forget to share this, I'm going to go to page 1 of the PDF and show you this is the new book being written by Brother Moon. I believe it is in final draft stage, but I don't think it's been officially published yet, so I'm not going to share this until I get the green light. So ask Brother Moon for this. It's called The Weak Brethren Doubting Paul, written by N.L. Moon. And the purpose of the book, he explains, is to defend the vegetarianism of the Ebionites, which is something that I've really it's been on my heart that I should not be eating meat. So there are a few times when I've eaten meat while I was here in Dallas, Texas, but I am beginning to see, Brother Moon wrote this book for the purpose of explaining that animal sacrifices is not just a religious thing, but the animal sacrifice is really any killing of animal from his perspective. And, from his perspective and apparently from the Ebionite perspective, thou shalt not kill would include animals and not just other human beings. Now, Paul gives a conversion story here, and this is just the only part of the book that I want to talk about right now. It might seem that I'm jumping all over the place, but the grassy knoll, the 9/11, that relates here because Paul's 9/11, Paul's grassy knoll, Paul's moment that he was going to remember for the rest of his life, the most important event in his whole life that changed everything for him, he cannot remember that. He cannot get the story straight. He tells the story three different ways. Each time he tells the story, it is a unique permutation and it contradicts another version of the story. And I love to see things in Excel format. Excel is my love language, and so you have here a beautiful Excel that organizes the contradictions in the three conversion stories of the Apostle Paul. So in all the stories, yes, Paul falls to the ground, but in one version of the story, in Acts 9, the companion, yes, sees a light, the companion, no, does not hear a voice, and there is blindness. Now, in the second version of the story, Acts 22, no, there is no light, but yes, they do hear a voice, so the exact opposite of the first story in those two details, but the blindness is consistent. Now, in version 3 of the story, you get another unique permutation of this, that the companion does see the light in Acts chapter 26. No, does not hear a voice, and no, there's no blindness, at least not mentioned there. I'm not going to read through the different stories there. Read through it yourself. I like that it's in Excel format. When things are in Excel, I can understand them. But if you want to do your own research, the chapter and verse is there on the screen. So just pause the screen and look up chapter and verse for yourself. You can make your own Excel spreadsheet like this. Making Excel spreadsheets is fun, and I enjoy doing that, and I'm good at that. And you know what? I appreciate someone who can keep things organized. When things are organized, I am happy. And this is what I've been trying to tell people for years. But I think Excel format is the best way to tell people to this. Paul is an unreliable witness. He cannot get the most important event in his entire life in his memory correctly sorted out. You know, I can remember the story of 9/11 and exactly where I was when 9/11 happened, and we went out in the middle school and we held hands and we prayed around the flagpole, and it was this big deal. And, I remember, going to the grassy knoll with my parents, and my dad remembers exactly where he was in his elementary school when he found out about JFK being assassinated. A lot of people have these vivid memories when something dramatic in their life happens, when something in their life changes. And Paul, he can't even be bothered to remember correctly when he met allegedly Jesus, when he met allegedly the Messiah of the whole world, when he met allegedly the religious leader of what he had dedicated himself to persecuting the entire time. And he just can't be bothered to remember exactly what that happened or how or why or the details of it. Oh, but he was deputized as an apostle. Why would I trust him?